Alright, let's do it. Let's talk about Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. For those of you that saw the video yesterday, then you'll know that earlier this week I had a chance to go to an event in London and go hands-on with the game, and I uploaded some gameplay. So if you've come to this video thinking like, yo, I want to watch some gameplay, can you stop talking over the top of it? This is not the video for you. That is the video you should be checking out. It's linked down below. It's 20 minutes of gameplay from a couple of different areas. There's no spoilers in it. It's very safe to watch. So if you're just super excited for the game and you just want to watch some kind of like ambient gameplay, going around some of the environments, fighting some of the trash mobs, no like crazy bosses or anything like that, then that is safe to watch and I highly recommend you check it out. But today, in this video, I want to sit down and just chat about it because, let me first just start by saying, I am loving this game. Like, I have, yes, barely scratched the surface, but already I play this game and I know that I'm going to enjoy it. So yeah, today, let's talk about why. So if you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Of course, any questions, comment down below. If you have any thoughts or anything you would like to ask, then definitely let me know and I'll do my best to try and answer those. And also, if you haven't entered our giveaway for a chance to win a console of your choice, be sure to click the link in the description box down below. But let's start at the top. So first things first, yes, there might be a tiny bit of bias here because I like From Software games. I came into the series quite late, so I'm not a Soulsborne veteran. I came in actually at Dark Souls 3, and only then did I discover my love for these kind of brutally difficult games. But then following that, I then kind of went on to discover other games like that, and I just love this genre. So already going into playing Sekiro, I knew it was going to be something that I liked. It is set in a location, in a time period that I have a lot of interest in. I mentioned in my video the other week when I was talking about why I'm looking forward to this game, that, you know, I have an interest in Japanese history. It's set at the end of the Sengoku era. It's set in like a really beautiful environment. And yeah, so setting wise, of course, it's a massive tick for me anyway. And the fact that it's just kind of the gameplay, you know, this brutally difficult, challenging gameplay that you come to expect from Soulsborne games. So yeah, already going to the event, I was like, this is going to be a game that I like anyway. However, there was one particular point. You know how like sometimes, it's a weird thing to talk about, right? Because sometimes when you play a game for like an hour or 2 hours, you often think, well, it's kind of too early to say if I'm really going to like this game. But then, you know, there are other times when you just play a game and you just sit down and you play it and you're just like, yes, this is going to be a good game. This is going to be a game that I enjoy. And I got that exact moment. There was a part, probably about halfway through my playtime at this event, I walked out of this temple in this sort of grassy, foresty area. So it was very different to what I'd seen up until this point. I played at Gamescom late last year, and that was in this sort of castle area. But this was a very different area to anywhere that I'd personally explored before. I walked out these wooden doors, out of this wooden temple. I walked up onto this ridge, and I just started panning the camera around the character. And it was at that moment, I kind of got shivers down my spine, and I was like, yo, this is going to be a really good game. I can just tell. It's going to be a really good game, and I'm going to enjoy it. So, setting-wise, it was fantastic. Music's fantastic. You know, sound design, all that cool stuff like that. But gameplay for me is definitely where this shines. I mean, it's, you know, what you expect. And it's very different. Again, obviously, if you've played things like Dark Souls, if you've played Bloodborne, if you've played any of those kind of games, it is definitely its own game. It has a completely separate identity. It feels very different. But what I really like about it is because they've kind of stripped back a lot of the stuff that you would have done in previous Soulsborne games, you know, with like specking down all these different trees, spending your points in various different abilities, whether you want to be magic, whether you want to wield like great swords or short swords or shields or, you know, loads of things like that. And you've kind of got a slightly more streamlined inventory. Now, there is still plenty of choice for you to mess around with. There are still different prosthetics. There's different ways you can upgrade stuff. I can't show you the menu, so that's something I wasn't able to record. But, you know, there are definitely parts in the skill trees and parts in the upgrade trees where you can kind of go down different paths and get some different items. I got to mess around with a different prosthetic that I haven't actually tested out before. It was actually a spear. It was really cool. So there's definitely still some more options, but I think kind of, at least for this experience, stripping back all those additional skill points and, you know, the time you can spend specking out all these different builds and kind of just giving you a slightly more focused experience, allowed me just to focus more on the actual like moment to moment gameplay, and it just feels so good. I mean, to be clear, having only played for about an hour, like, any of these games, unless you're some kind of Soulsborne veteran or Soulsborne savant, like, typically you'll go in and your first few hours, maybe even your first 5 hours, is probably going to be getting your butt kicked until you get good at the game. And obviously going into Sekiro, it's quite different. So there is a big focus on this new posture system. So, you know, when you are fighting enemies, you do need to break their posture. You need to be a little more offensive in some situations where, say, you know, you'll be presented with like an attack coming your way, and you'll actually need to kind of counter that instead, and then, you know, follow up with your attack. So there's definitely some very different ways, or kind of at least how I was used to, because, you know, I played Dark Souls 3 as like a Monster Hunter player, right? So I roll 24/7. That's why I spec'd into it, so I had like a ton of stamina, so I can roll as much as I want to. So that's kind of what I do in those games, and you can probably see a little bit of that in the gameplay, in that my default response right now going into Sekiro, only having played for like an hour, is still to dodge. You can still dodge, you can sidestep. There's actually like, an actual cool mechanic where you can specifically sidestep attacks and it kind of gives you an opening. So that is still functionality, but, as you play the game more, as you get better, you will definitely lean more into really kind of parrying and countering and kind of like leaning into that posture system, because that is basically the crux of the game. When you do break the posture and you get those super satisfying death blows where like you see the red glow and you can kind of just follow up, and some of the like kill animations are so cool. Obviously the tougher enemies, some of them have multiple like life bars, so you need to death blow them twice, but either way, that is a really cool thing, especially when you get your combo flowing and you'll go in, you'll attack, you'll parry, and you'll follow up, and you just kind of go straight into a death blow. It just is so clean, so seamless. So yeah, moment-to-moment gameplay is really, really nice, and I barely started to scratch the surface because, as mentioned, you have your prosthetics, but there's a lot of things you can do with them, and you can kind of combine your prosthetics into your wider combos, and you can kind of link them together to do different things. So I didn't really get a chance to test that out too much, but I can definitely see this is going to be a lot of fun when it comes to messing around with like how you use those against some of the tougher fights. But one of the other things that I really enjoyed is the verticality of this. So as somebody that loves, platformers, games where you can kind of just like explore the world, climb, and just, do whatever you want, having the grappling hook in this game is so awesome. And something that I got to experience this time that I didn't before is just how much you can link this together. So when I played back at Gamescom, there were a few points you could grapple to, but they were quite far apart, so you couldn't really chain it together. So I just thought, oh, you use it to kind of grapple up onto the building, and that's kind of, what you do. But if you have grapple points close enough together, you can literally Spider-Man between them. You can go from one to the next one, and you can keep on going between them, so you can get some really fluid movement. There was a part in the second area, again, when I was in the forest, and the monks there, they were pretty tough. Like, they're your trash mobs, right? But when they're all like walking around the forest and then suddenly you get surrounded by like 5 or 6 of them, they start beating you up. Yeah, that didn't go too well for me. So I decided to try and like use the aerial aspects of the game, or the kind of vertical aspects of the game, should I say, to try and, like circumvent them and, dodge around them and get around. And it just kind of opens up so many different parts of the world. Because, in previous games, in Soulsborne games, you would be quite grounded. So, unless there's like a ladder or a lift or anything like that, you are basically on the ground. But now you look at the battlefield a completely different way. You look at these buildings and think, all right, cool, there's some enemies there. I can approach this straight on. I can like go up that tree. I can like climb around there and come back down, from like the top of the building or anything. So it starts to make you think about the world in a completely different way. And I feel like that just presents like a whole new gameplay opportunity that we probably haven't really experienced in these games before, like not properly. So that's probably one of the things that I enjoyed the most, just because, again, it's so fluid. Like, you're running through and you'll just see this pointer, this waypoint, to be like, oh, you can grapple up there if you want to. And you just, you grapple and you're out the way, and then suddenly, you're either hiding from the enemies and you can drop down for like an aerial attack, or alternatively, you can just, again, use it, let them pass you by and just get a lay of the land. A lot of the time, I just use it to try and sort of work out what's going on, because, let's be honest, one of the ways you typically die in like Soulsborne games is you'll invariably walk into an area that you don't know, and there'll be an enemy around a corner, and they'll just hack you up. And I'm sure that's still going to happen in this game. In fact, it definitely will happen in this game. But at least in some situations where it's slightly more open, you can kind of jump up higher, get your lay of the land, and work out like how you want to approach. And of course, there's stealth as well. And stealth is something that I am probably going to try and lead into as much as I can, because, being able to like plan out your attacks is kind of how like I play, completely different game, but it's kind of how I play like Hitman, right? You'll go in, you'll watch the like security guards or the enemies moving around. You'll try and sort of work out the movement patterns before you begin your assault. So same thing with this. You can see people grouped together. You can think, all right, there's some foliage down there. I can sneak through there. I can go and take that guy out. Maybe these guys won't hear. And then you can try and take out as many people as you want, like stealthily first, before you start making a scene. So that was honestly so much fun. Now, outside of that, there's not really much more I can kind of talk about right now, because the event itself, we only really got to play for about an hour. We started with the very beginning. Now, I got to sample the tutorial. I got to sample the beginning of the game. I wasn't allowed to record that, obviously, to kind of keep that fresh. So I won't talk too much about it, but it was quite interesting, like playing from the beginning of the game, like before you have access to all of your abilities, and it introduced you to the game like as it should do, with like a tutorial. And that's quite cool, because when I played at Gamescom again, I was thrown in the deep end. There was no tutorial, so I was getting slapped around left, right, and center. But this time, it kind of eases you in, but it's still not like a super easy tutorial. It kind of just tells you what you need to know without like hand holding you. In fact, I did actually die during the tutorial, so yeah, there is that. But point is, the tutorial is like, it's done in like a really good way, and I think it's one of those things that people will appreciate. If you are, like a Soulsborne fan, then you're not going to have to kind of go through like a hefty tutorial that's going to hold your hand for ages before you can start doing what you want. You are going to be in the game very, very quickly, but at least from the get-go, it tells you a few of the things you need to know so you're not completely and utterly in the dark. And also, you know, when you're back at the shrine, there's also the Undead Samurai. He's one of the guys there. He is basically where you can go to practice moves because you can't die, so you can just keep, you know, fighting him as much as you want, and he will train different things. So, you know, like I was there before and I tested out like the sidestep moves on him. He'll teach you how to like parry, to counter, he'll teach you about the posture system. So you can learn lots of cool things there. So there's definitely like options if you are new to this game. If you, for example, if you've never really felt like getting into one of these types of games because you think, well, the brutal difficulty isn't really appealing to me, I'm not going to lie to you, it's still going to be difficult and you're going to die a lot, but at least there are options in the game to kind of slightly better teach you some of the mechanics so you don't have to go in quite so empty-handed. But of course, if you are a veteran, then you know you can bypass all that and just dive straight in and start having some fun. Either way, really enjoyed it so far. I have barely scratched the surface. I haven't even really had a chance to fight many of the bosses, so there's so much I have yet to experience, but already, from my time playing, I just know that I'm going to love this game. So stay tuned on the channel, expect plenty of content. When the game launches, I'm going to be playing through the entire game. In fact, I'm going to be streaming my entire playthrough, so if you want to see how many times I die, then stick around for that. But until then, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to check out some more awesome stuff from us here at Arekkz Gaming, then you should definitely try to catch TwoSixNine and Paradise Central streaming 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. They play a wide range of games, and what's more, we also have the end game store. By watching their streams, you earn currency, and you can redeem that currency on the end game store for really cool prizes. Those can range from things like games, comics, and figures, all the way up to controllers, capture cards, and even consoles. So definitely drop by and become part of the community. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you're subscribed and be sure to click on that little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss our next upload. You can watch more videos by clicking on the options here, but once again, thanks very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.